Hi, Bill Vales here. In this show, I am going to talk about invasive insect species and how they are affecting Littleton. In particular, we are going to discuss the emerald ash borer and the damage they are doing to the ash trees on Littleton Common. So let's start right in. Several of the trees on the common are infected with the emerald ash borer. The trees need to be removed, destroyed, and new trees planted. There are many telltale signs of the infection on the town common that I'm going to show you, but first, let's provide a working definition of what an invasive species is. An invasive species is a species that has been introduced to an area that it is not native to. The base definition is as simple as that. With favorable conditions of food, climate, and a lack of natural predators, the invasive species will take over an area. Great environmental and economic damage can result. Invasive species are found throughout the animal and plant kingdoms. Invasive species can be found in all biological families. We have several invasive species in Littleton and surrounding areas, with new ones on the way. But right now, I want to focus on one invasive species in particular, and that species is the insect named emerald ash borer, or commonly abbreviated to EAB. So far, the emerald ash borer has destroyed hundreds of millions of trees in at least 35 states. The emerald ash borer gets its name from the deep emerald color of the adults and also the holes it bores into the tree during its life cycle. The emerald ash borer are killing our native ash trees. They have infected the ash trees on the Littleton Town Common. Residents should be on the lookout for signs of infection on ash trees on their property or around town. This show should help you do that. The emerald ash borer is native to temperate Northeast Asia. It was first found in Michigan in 2002. It is thought the pest hitched a ride from Asia to North America on shipping materials such as crates or pallets. Hitching a ride is a common infection vector used by many invasive species to expand their range. Moving firewood from one place to another is another example of how an invasive species could hitch a ride to a new area. To combat the emerald ash borer, several town departments have teamed up to develop a plan to determine the extent of the damage and what steps to take to mitigate the damage and curtail the spread. To address the problem on the Littleton Town Common, the plan is to remove the infected trees, destroy them, and replant new trees over the next several years. We have plenty of photographs to show you of trees on the Littleton Town Common, but first we need to understand a little about the ash tree in general. There are between 45 and 65 species of ash tree. Common ash trees in our area are the white ash and green ash. The genus for ash is Fraxinus. As with all trees, you can identify them by leaves, bark, habit, fruit, and other factors. Some of these attributes may vary based on the age of the tree, the season, and the climate. Ash trees are deciduous trees with leaves that are opposite and mostly pinnately compound. The bark of a mature ash tree displays diamond-shaped grooves on the bark. They are reasonably deep. The fruit or seeds of the white ash tree are known as keys or helicopter seeds. These are a type of fruit known as a samara. The shape of the samara allows for the wind to disperse the seeds. Ash is an attractive tree that takes on different colors through the seasons. The ash tree has economic and ecological value. They can grow between 40 and 60 feet tall, with some specimens to more than 80 feet high, with diameters over 3 feet. It is important to learn the life cycle of the emerald ash borer so that you can be on the lookout for identifying infected trees at various stages of the infection. The life cycle of the emerald ash borer can occur over 1 to 2 years, depending on a number of factors, including when the eggs were laid, the health of the tree, and the temperature. Let's take a look at the life cycle from a high level. Mating occurs after adults emerge from the trees in late spring. The adults pair up, mate, and the eggs are deposited between bark crevices and under bark layers. The eggs hatch and the larvae chew through the bark to the inner phylum, the cambium layer, and outer xylem, where they feed and develop. The adults then, when mature, will bore a D-shaped hole in the tree and exit. Eventually, the trees are weakened. Tree die-off occurs with leaves discoloring, falling, and branches falling, and then the trees die. The presence of the emerald ash borer in Littleton was detected several years ago. In 2020, a plan was developed to address the emerald ash borer at the Common. Littleton Common consists of 2 triangular pieces of land in the center of town at the traffic lights adjacent to the intersections of routes 119 and 110. According to a 2020 tree inventory, there are 37 trees on the commons of various species. A chart was developed that enumerates each tree specimen, the general condition of the specimen, and the year planned for removal. Note that some tree specimens other than ash have various condition problems. The number of the tree in the row corresponds to the circled number on the Google map. This makes it easy to determine tree location and species. If you walk through the common, you can see some of the damage. Use the map and chart to match the pictures to the location. As you walk through the common, admire the variation of species and the general condition that they are in. Several tree species are being considered for replacements. Replacement species are being selected based on their hardiness, the aesthetics, and also other factors. You can look forward to the removal of these trees and the planting of new trees according to the dates in the plan. This isn't the first time invasive species have affected the look of Littleton Common and surrounding areas. There was a time that Littleton Common and many streets in America were lined with the stately American elm tree. However, in the early parts of the 20th century, Dutch elm disease infected the American elm tree. Dutch elm disease was originally native to Asia. The disease was accidentally introduced into America and Europe, where it devastated native populations of elms that did not have resistance to the disease. The disease was isolated and identified in the Netherlands in 1921. A few years prior to Dutch elm disease, Littleton and communities stretching from Georgia to Maine were affected by the chestnut blight. The fungus that caused the chestnut blight is native to East and Southeast Asia and was introduced into Europe and North America in the 1900s. The fungus spread rapidly and caused significant tree loss in both regions that numbered into the billions. Take a look at the map that shows the vast range of the American white ash. To place the potential impact of the emerald ash borer into perspective, Consider the range of the species American white ash. Take a look at the number of dead trees for previous events and the potential areas of infection for the ash tree. The impact on the infected tree species is devastating. The damage is done rapidly. A few short years of infection drastically changes the landscape. The impact to the ecology and economy is massive. We are expecting new infestations soon by several more insects. Each will have devastating effects on our trees and ecosystems in various ways. Here are some species marching toward us as I speak. The Asian longhorned beetle, spotted lanternfly, winter moth, and the brown marmorated stinkbug. Invasive species come in many forms. They can be plants, trees, mammals, birds, insects, fish, mollusks, fungi, to name a few. The best way to be prepared to combat invasive species is through education. Learning the life cycle of an invasive species will make you aware of what to look for throughout the seasons. The current invasion of the emerald ash borer is just the latest of a long list of invasive insects that have affected us. And these are just the insects that we are talking about here. We haven't discussed mammals or plants. Littleton town departments have been hard at work to identify and inventory invasive species in town. Mitigation strategies are being developed based on numerous accepted best practices. Awareness of invasive species is high among members of many town departments. An important step to eradicating invasive species is for all of us to become informed on the damage that is done by invasive species, how to identify invasive species, and the steps to safely remove the invasive species from the environment. In February of 2020, a program of invasive species was presented in the library by Joshua Bruckner. He is the Forest Pest Outreach Coordinator from the Mass Department of Agricultural Resources. The YouTube link for this presentation is below. The presentation goes into greater detail of the emerald ash borer and other invasive insects. I recommend watching it. I would like to thank you for watching. I hope you learn a lot, and I'll see you next time.